Hey brother, there comes a quiet moment in every man's life when the veil finally falls away. It's never loud or explosive. It's not marked by anger or tears. Instead, it's still a heavy silence that settles deep inside. You find yourself sitting there, staring blankly at your phone, or maybe the empty side of the bed, and then it hits you. Not like a sharp slap to the face, but like a slow, sinking realization that echoes through every part of you. She doesn't care. Not the way you believed she did, not the way you hoped she would, not even close to the way you cared. And strangely, this time it doesn't hit you with sadness or bitterness. It hits you with clarity, because the moment you finally accept that she doesn't really care, you stop fighting to convince her otherwise. You stop begging the storm to settle. You stop bending over backwards to keep a love that's already slipping through your fingers. Instead, you begin to build your foundation somewhere else. A place where your heart can finally rest. She didn't care when you dragged yourself home after a brutal 12-hour shift, exhausted but still carving out time just to check on her. She didn't care when you held your own pain silent, swallowing it whole just to be present for hers. She didn't care when you swallowed your pride, apologizing for things you never even did, all to keep the peace. And through it all, you kept telling yourself, if I love her more, if I try harder, she'll love me back. But here's the brutal truth that nobody says out loud. Love isn't a transaction. It's not a ledger where your effort earns her affection. In her world, your sacrifice isn't applauded. It's expected. You showed up consistently. She kept drifting further away. And now, finally, you're waking up. Not with resentment, not with rage, but with a fierce resolve. You're not going to break down anymore. You're going to break free. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. Here's the unvarnished reality. Most women aren't wired to carry your struggle. They won't carry your burdens. They won't fight your battles. And accepting that, as painful as it is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Not really. What she really cares about is how you make her feel. Not the man you are, not the sacrifices you make, but the emotional rush, the highs and lows. The moment you stop being her source of those highs, she checks out. And while you're sitting there, replaying every memory, thinking about everything you built together, she's already telling her friends she feels different. And that word, different, is just code. Code for it's over, but she's gonna play the victim like she's the one who got hurt. She's not evil. She's not broken. She's just not you. She didn't carry the weight the way you did. She didn't stay awake at night, wrestling with ways to fix what was broken. You were playing chess, thinking several moves ahead. She was playing a vibe, living in the moment, moving with the wind. And the moment you understand that fundamental difference, something inside you shifts. You stop trying to explain logic to someone who's guided by emotion. You stop rereading every message, hunting for clues about where it went wrong. You stop searching for closure from someone who slammed the door shut without a second thought. You stop casting yourself as the good guy in a story where your pain was always just a background note. And that's exactly when your power returns. Not because you gained something new, but because you let go. You dropped the illusion. You faced the truth. Now you stand in that truth with your back straight, your mind clear, your energy no longer draining into someone who never truly appreciated it. Remember that time you sent her something raw, something vulnerable, and she left you unread? That wasn't an accident. That was her way of showing you exactly how much she values your inner world. And brother, it wasn't much. And yet, you found yourself rationalizing it all. She's just busy. She's overwhelmed. She's tired. The excuses echoed in your mind like a fragile lifeline you refused to let go of. But no, brother, she didn't care. not the way you needed her to, not the way you believed she would. And once you finally face that truth, once you stop battling the reality and accept it for what it is, an eerie, unsettling calm washes over you. It's the kind of calm men speak about when they step out of prison and see sunlight without bars, without walls, without chains. That moment, that stillness, is what true emotional freedom feels like. This freedom begins the second you stop expecting her to understand your pain, your struggles, your silent battles. Because she never tried. She never reached deep enough to feel what you felt. She didn't shed tears when she walked away. She didn't hesitate to erase your presence from her world, deleting pictures, blocking your number, cutting ties like you never existed. And that doesn't mean you were meaningless. It means her connection to you was emotional, surface level, not built on a foundation strong enough to withstand the storm. The moment her feelings changed, so did her loyalty. And that's the part many men miss. You think loyalty is about time spent together, memories made, sacrifices endured. But for her, loyalty is tethered to emotion. When the feelings fade, the commitment evaporates with them. And there you stand, left clutching a photo album filled with memories of a relationship she's already forgotten. Don't chase it, don't beg for it, burn it. Not out of anger, but out of acceptance. Let her go, not because she deserves peace, but because you do. You've been fighting a battle she didn't even know existed, carrying a love so heavy it weighed you down while she floated on impulse and whim. You bent over backwards, contorting yourself to prove your worth, your consistency mistaken for clinginess, your passion twisted into pressure, your patience mistaken for weakness. And for what? For someone who never matched your effort, who never lifted a finger to meet you halfway. You gave your all to a love that only demanded, never reciprocated. It's time to stop. Time to stop proving your value to someone who couldn't see it. Time to stop pouring from an empty cup. You deserve a love that holds you up when you're tired, not one that watches you crumble and walks away. You deserve someone who stays when the feelings are low, not just when the highs come. You deserve loyalty rooted in more than fleeting emotions. So burn that album. Let the ashes remind you that some things are meant to end, and in their ending, you find the space to begin again, stronger, wiser, and free. You were never too much. You were just too real, too raw, too honest for someone who's only ever known illusions and half-truths. And now, that clarity you fought so hard to find has become your armor. It shields you from the noise, from the second guessing, from the ache of unanswered questions. You don't need closure, because closure is a fantasy sold to those who can't accept the truth. You don't need revenge, because revenge only drags you back into the cycle. What you need is forward. Pure, unshakable forward motion. The hardest part of this awakening, realizing you were never really in the same relationship. You were in love. She was in an experience you dreamed about forever while she savored a moment. You saw her as home, steady, safe, enduring. She saw you as a hotel, a place to rest before moving on. And the more you tried to transform what was temporary into something permanent, the more she resented you. Not because you were wrong, but because she never wanted to stay. And that's okay. That's her truth, not yours. You're not her anchor. You're not her therapist. You're not her parent. You are a man who deserves a partner who matches his depth, his loyalty, his reality. Someone who shows up, stays present, and holds space for the kind of love that isn't convenient, it's intentional. And the sooner you accept that she never could be that person, the sooner you stop mourning a ghost. If you want peace, stop trying to decode her like some puzzle missing half its pieces. Stop looking for her to admit the truth you already know deep down. She's not going to say it. She's going to spin the narrative, rewrite the story to make you question yourself. She'll make you feel like you're the reason it all fell apart, like your flaws broke what was never meant to last. That's emotional warfare, and it's brutal because it hurts where you're most vulnerable, your heart and your pride. But your best move? Silence. Not the kind of silence filled with hope that she'll call back, text, or break down and explain herself. No, the kind of silence that's final, done, unflinching, unwavering. The kind that doesn't wonder or waver, it simply walks away. Because that is the power she never expected you to have. The power to leave. The power to say, this is where I end and I begin again. And in that leaving, you find your freedom, your strength, your peace, not with a bang or fireworks, but with quiet finality, cold, calm, and completely unbothered. That's how it hits when you finally realize that, yes, most women don't care. Not in the way you hoped, not with the depth you gave. And when you fully accept that, something shifts inside you. Neither will you. Not out of bitterness, not out of anger or hate, but out of a freedom so profound, it rewrites the way you move through the world. You stop chasing love that costs your peace. You stop explaining yourself to people who never took the time to understand the layers beneath your words. You stop showing up for those who never showed up for you. And in that stillness, deep in that quiet detachment, in the fortress of your emotional sovereignty, you find the man you were always meant to be. Calm, clear, complete. Not because she loved you, but because you finally loved yourself enough to stop needing her to. And here's the twist. When that moment arrives, when you stop caring about her approval, you don't become cold. You become calculated. You become precise with your energy, selective with who gets access to your heart and mind. You don't hate women. You don't blame them. You simply observe. You start seeing past the empty words and vague promises. You watch what they do more than what they say. You no longer get high off fleeting attention. You get curious about consistency. You stop building futures on potential alone and start living by pattern recognition, because a man who's been burned, who's been broken and healed properly, doesn't run from fire. He learns how to control it, to use it, to harness its power without getting burned again. And she will notice that shift in your energy, the detachment wrapped in grounded calm, that balance between confidence and carelessness. She won't be able to explain it, but she'll feel it deep in her gut, and it will make her uncomfortable. Why? Because women are conditioned to expect men who react, who explain, who prove, who apologize endlessly. But you're not that man anymore. You've stepped into something different, something stronger, something untouchable. But you're no longer reacting. You're recalibrating. You're not running away from the pain or the past. You're rising above it, steadily and with purpose. She'll look at you and say, "You've changed." And she's right, you have, because you're no longer begging for love, no longer chasing validation or approval. You're embodying something far rarer, self-respect. And that self-respect, it shifts the entire game. Suddenly, you'll notice how many women try to circle back. Not because they genuinely love you, or maybe not anymore, but because your calm indifference tastes like power. Power they want to control, to bend, to possess. But you won't fall for it. Not this time. You've already tasted the peace that comes from not caring, from not needing anyone's permission to exist fully. You've tasted freedom, the kind that comes when you stop building castles in the sand, hoping the tide won't wash them away. And once you've experienced that kind of clarity, chaos no longer tempts you. You become addicted to truth. You see the world clearly for what it is, and women for who they are, not as villains, not as saviors, but simply as flawed human beings with their own wounds, their own battles, their own illusions. You stop trying to fix them. You stop trying to save what wasn't meant to be saved. Instead, you learn to filter. You protect your peace by choosing carefully who gets to stand beside you. And in that filtration process, you reclaim every ounce of power you once handed away, sometimes without realizing it. It's in this space, this freedom from illusion, that you finally create room for a woman who's real. Not perfect, not performative, but present. The kind of woman who doesn't require a chase because she walks with you. The kind who doesn't test your strength out of doubt or games, but respects it as part of who you are. She won't show up when you're still carrying old wounds, still haunted by ghosts, still waiting for a text that never comes. She shows up when you've cleared the wreckage, when you've buried the old version of yourself, the one desperate for someone to complete him, because the man who needs nothing, who stands whole and complete on his own, is the man who attracts everything. That's when it all finally clicks. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the endless confusion. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation, a divine breaking down of the old you to reveal the man you were always meant to become. And that new version, He doesn't overthink texts or replay every word in his head. He doesn't sit around waiting for closure that might never come. He doesn't cling to women who let go first. Instead, he leads, he builds, he focuses, and most importantly, he stays in motion. Because the moment a man stops chasing love and starts chasing purpose, he becomes unshakable. That kind of energy isn't just felt, it's noticed. Women feel it too. Some will run from it because it challenges their comfort zones. Others rise to meet it, inspired by the strength and clarity they sense. But you don't wait around to find out which one she'll be. You don't pause your journey to test her loyalty or validate your worth through her approval. You stay on your path, on your mission, burning with a fire that won't be extinguished. And if she can't keep up, if she can't match your pace and energy, then she doesn't belong in your story. Not because she's flawed or wrong, but because you've outgrown low-frequency love, the kind of love that's needy, unstable, and always demanding to be fixed, the kind that requires endless explanations and leaves you doubting yourself, questioning your value, second-guessing every move. That chapter is behind you now. You're in a new arena, a new league, one where your time, your energy, and your emotional availability aren't just given away as gifts, they're investments. And like any good investment, they only pay dividends to those truly worthy. You'll watch other men struggling, still stuck in the same loops, still apologizing for being masculine, still bending over backward for women who never planned to stay. And yeah, it'll hurt to watch because you've been there. You know that pain, that desperation, that confusion all too well. But what you also know deep down is that until they stop caring so much about being cared for, until they stop chasing what isn't meant for them, they won't heal. And that's okay, because you're done waiting around for those who won't step up. Your healing is your responsibility. Your growth is your mission. Your peace is your prize. Until men finally let go of the deep-seated belief that love must come with suffering, sacrifice, and pain, they will remain trapped in broken cycles, caught in endless loops of disappointment, confusion, and hurt. And you won't stand on some soapbox preaching or trying to fix broken hearts. You won't attempt to save anyone else because salvation begins within. Instead, you'll live unapologetically, boldly embodying the truth you've uncovered. You'll become the living, breathing proof that freedom comes the moment you release the illusion of who she could be, and instead embrace the undeniable truth of who you are. Here's the bitter irony that cuts both ways. The very moment you stop caring, the moment you detach emotionally, that's when they start to notice. When you remove yourself from being so emotionally available, you become emotionally valuable. When you stop chasing after her approval, you become the one worth chasing. When you stop bending over backwards to appease and please, you stand tall with unwavering strength and self-respect. And it's in that moment, that shift in energy, that the woman who once didn't care enough to stay begins to question what changed. But by then, it's already too late, because you have already moved on, leaving behind the shadow of a love that was never meant to be. You've moved beyond the false narrative that love has to hurt to be real. You've stepped away from the dangerous idea that sacrifice means losing your identity, your pride, your peace. You've broken free from the trap of needing someone else to validate your worth, to fill the void inside. Instead, you've stepped into your own light, into your own power, your own peace, and your own self-sufficiency. And that, my brother, is the purest form of freedom. So here's the final truth. Women won't always care the way you want them to. That's not your failing. It's their story, not yours. Your story is about growth, evolution, and rising above the pain and heartbreak. It's about becoming a man so whole, so grounded, so confident in his own worth that no one's love or lack thereof can shake his foundation. You become unbreakable, not because you never felt pain, but because you learned to own it and rise from it. Because the man who doesn't need love, that isn't desperate for it, who doesn't depend on it for validation, is the man who finally gets to choose love on his terms. He chooses not out of need or desperation, but out of abundance, clarity, and strength. And that, my brother, is the ultimate freedom, the freedom to love yourself fiercely and fully, no matter who stays and who walks away. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way, so stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.